Hey, how's it going out there, folks? Welcome back here to a Monday night. It is the Earthmaster in here with an update on this Monday night here, January 6, 2025. It is 10:39 p.m. California time here. The latest activity still shows some movement there into the Nepal area following a 7.1 earthquake earlier today. A lot of aftershock activity stirring up here in this region. So let's go ahead and check out the latest activity here as we zoom in to the area just outside Nepal here. Mount Everest sits roughly within this region here, so just to the north. A major plate boundary here. Of course, you get the plate tectonics here and the land rising, creating those beautiful Himalaya mountains. Very dynamic area in terms of stress and strain. There is that 7.1 earthquake here that struck my time about 5 o'clock or so here on Monday. 7.1 earthquake, 6.2 miles deep there. Very shallow. Fortunately, this was not around a major populated area. Of course, it was felt broadly over the region. Let's see if USGS showing some of the shaking contour lines here. Some folks have reported feeling it in India. But, again, fortunately, it was not around a major populated city. Now, it looks as though there was a little foreshock here about an hour or two, about 2 hours or so. Well, 1 hour, excuse me, prior to that 7.1, a little 4.1 coming in at 6 miles deep as well. Notice a little bit of migration here, aside from the obvious aftershock activity from a large earthquake up north here. A couple earthquakes stirring up following that earthquake. Actually, we had one earthquake further up north of 4.8, again following all this activity. So high amount of strain being built up out here across the area. Now, this 7.1 is the strongest earthquake here we've seen specifically in this area since 2015. So 10 years or so. 7.3 struck Nepal area back in 2015. Looks like they had a couple back there in that area in 2015. The 7.3 and a number of sixes out there, 7.8 as well. So again, this is a super dynamic area in terms of stress and strain, and it does build up, a whole bunch of pressure out here in given time to produce these large earthquakes. And of course, large mountain ranges up here as well, Mount Everest and other peaks out there. So a lot of activity in 2015. Now, whether we see maybe a repeat of that similar magnitude, we'll have to watch that and see. Obviously, a 7.1 earthquake is a decent magnitude, but it's a little bit further up north here than any other quake that we have seen. Those 2015 earthquakes struck further south here along the plate boundary. This one further up north, so you got to watch that. It is just due north of the 8.0 that struck there in Nepal back in 1934. And that's a little seismic gap zone if you think about it here, coming up on close to 100 years since that 8-pointer struck. So we'll continue to watch that potentially here for some further movement. As of right now, 14 earthquakes, including that one 4.1 prior foreshock there. But aside from that, most of this aftershock activity. The largest aftershock so far going to be a 5.1, about 10 minutes following the main quake there, that 7.1. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Definitely shaking things up out there. Looks like another 4.1 coming in right now there on the Earthquake 3D globe. So very interesting. Might be super active here. Maybe that's where we're going to see our 8-pointer. I've been saying this here for pretty much all of last year, because we're overdue here for an 8-pointer somewhere out here on the planet. We should have seen an 8.0 earthquake here. Our last 8.0 earthquake was back in 2021. So we're looking at 4 years now since an 8-pointer, and on average, these are the number of earthquakes that strike across the globe, just on average here on any given year. So at least one 8.0 earthquake, and we have not seen it in 4 years. So that tells me something is brewing out here somewhere, maybe even bigger than an 8-pointer. 15 earthquakes there of 7.0 to 7.9, and then so on. Of course, the number goes up as the magnitude goes down. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that. California lighting up out here as well, just off the San Andreas Fault. Got a little swarming going on out here around the thermal area of Southern California. Very shallow crustal quakes there, with really no main magnitude, just a series of ones, and the latest a 2.3, along with several other earthquakes out here in the last hour in certain regions. A little swarm down here around Pine Valley as well. So pressure on the increase out here across Southern California right now. Earlier this morning, a 3.1 hitting the El Centro area just off the Brawley seismic zone and the Imperial Fault here. A little bit of migration northward towards the Salton Sea. Got to watch that. Anything around the San Andreas Fault here is of noteworthy value, because we don't want to have anything trigger the big one out here. And this is easily capable here now of producing an 8.1 maximum magnitude. It's been over 300 years, and this thing is about as wound tight as it can get in terms of strain accumulation. And that's the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. That could be where our 8-pointer hits as well. You just never know. Further up the line here along the creeping segment of the San Andreas Fault, a couple smaller earthquakes, including a 2.4. Further up north here, around the Bay Area, the Delta region, that's off the Vaca Fault, it looks like, Concord Fault, Green Valley Fault, in between a couple different fault zones out there. One on the San Francisco area here of the San Andreas Fault. So things starting to light up out here a little bit across the west coast. Northern California, a little quiet, not too much going on up north here. 3.1 from early this morning, about 1 o'clock in the morning there, but aside from that, things pretty quiet. I do want to double check the tremor map here tonight. Let me bring up the Cascadia tremor. Let's see what we have. Well, a little increase here after about a week or so, 7 to 8 days of no tremor. We got a little bit stirring up here. 26 epicenters being recorded today across the southern end of the Cascadia subduction zone. That's well underneath this land here, about 35, 45 kilometers deep. So when we get the tremor activity, obviously it's adding further strain back upstream. We'll watch maybe here for some further activity escalating out here across that area. One earthquake up here out around the Vancouver area. A little 2.2, nothing big. The rest of the area here, look at this little line. You can see this line stretching across Nevada, across the Garlock Fault Shear Zone, the Tehachapi Mountains range. This has been a little active here in the last 24 hours. Definitely a notable increase in earthquake activity here in a linear fashion. And last time we seen that, we started to see things kick up there in Southern California, and it looks like that is what's taking place here tonight. Elevated movement there in the southern portion of the state. Some minimal activity across the Yellowstone area. I bet you, I always like to look and see what these large earthquakes do to seismograph stations. They're thousands of miles away. Let's see if we can spot that 7-pointer. I'm really surprised it didn't show up stronger than that. I believe... Wow, that's a little weak to say that a 7-pointer caused that. I'm probably right about here. There's some S waves coming in following that earthquake around that time frame. But I'm guessing because it was a very shallow earthquake here that it didn't send off significant amount of S waves. Because normally the 7-pointer, say for example, Japan or somewhere else along the plate boundary, western areas of the Pacific plate, it would show up quite nicely here across Yellowstone, and it really barely showed up here. So I'm a little surprised with that. And again, it could have something to do with the depth of the that earthquake there that struck. Now this station, ooh man, did it pick it up! You guys know this one. This is the I'll bring it up here and I'll show you guys. Go back here to my map. This is the Ethiopia station down here. So that sits a little bit closer here, down here. been watching a pretty decent earthquake swarm there across that Rift Valley. One earthquake being reported today, a 4.5, after seeing a couple weeks here of elevated seismic activity. Things have calmed down, but I'm guessing that's going to be that 4-pointer earlier. But man, did it shake the area in terms of vibrational frequencies. That's a massive P wave and S wave there, I'm sure, that was being picked up there on Ethiopia station. Pretty crazy. Just made a mess of that. So let's get back here to the States real quick, see if there's anything else to cover. Looking at Yellowstone real quick, there's not a whole lot of localized earthquake activity. Maybe a couple right here. But this distant earthquake there from that 7-pointer showing up a little bit. Texas area, aside from some snow coming up here, I think, this week. I think they're getting ready for some decent snow. Got a little bit of earthquake activity there across the oil fields of Texas. Nothing going on there across the New Madrid seismic zone for now. Eastern portion of the country quiet as well. I think we've had a couple earthquakes here around Japan, or at least one of them following that 7-pointer today over there in the Himalaya area. 5.0, pretty deep here into the Japan Trench, about 99 miles deep here underneath the area. So things starting to stir up, migrate, and when these big earthquakes happen here, it can really shake things up out here. It could add further strain up north, kind of like we're seeing here, further up into the China area. There was one up here early this morning, and then another earthquake following that 7-pointer this afternoon. So a little bit of back and forth here, and it's just due north of where that 8-pointer struck there back in the 1930-something, 1936, I think. So that's why I'm saying there could be a potential there for some, maybe even some larger activity than what we've seen. Quick glance here at the earthquake 3D globe down south. Got typical movement here across the Indonesia Islands area. Really nothing major going on. Some 4s out there. A couple earthquakes here back along the plate boundary in the Tonga Trench. New Zealand, somewhat quiet. Had a bunch of 3s out here a couple days ago around that volcano just off the North Island region. As far as anything left or right along this plate boundary, I don't see it. Right now it's limited here to the 7-pointer or a little bit north here of the area. So we'll watch this overnight, see how the multitude of quakes here continue. If it continues to escalate here, maybe spread out, and we might be looking at something larger in the area of that Nepal region. Quite a bit of activity stirring up around the Greece area, it looks like. Mediterranean region, some 2s. And some 3s following a 4.9 there earlier today. And there's that one earthquake across the Ethiopia Rift Valley. And that's actually fairly minimal compared to what they've seen here in the last couple days. Typical movement there across the subduction zones of the Middle American Trench and the Peru-Chile Trench. Nothing major going on there. That's all standard earthquake activity that happens on any given day there. Let me go check out something here real quick. Excuse me. Yeah, not a whole lot going on here across New Zealand right now. Couple smaller quakes out there in the last few hours or so. Looks like scattered out and about. See if these guys picked up that 7-pointer. See, that's a little odd. Even these guys didn't really record that signature from the 7.1 there earlier today. It's a little odd. I'm guessing it had to do with the shallowness of that earthquake. Being deeper in the earth, those deeper earthquakes tend to send out vibrational frequencies there that are picked up at a longer distance there. Flare threat still elevated. 25% chance there for some X-flare activity. M-flare at 70. It dropped it a little bit. I still think we got some potential there from 3947. That's going to be the sunspot that's pretty much directly looking right at us here. It is north here of the center area of the sun, but anything that does blast off here in terms of CME activity or large flare activity will be most certainly Earth-directed and geo-effective in terms of any aurora activity days later. Right now, the aurora activity pretty much non-existent there in the forecast, and current conditions there pretty quiet across the board. There's 3947 beta gamma delta. This site here states that it's declining, but we'll see how that plays out. Last M-flare here was early this morning, it looks like, with that decent M-flare. A little C-flare activity right now, but we'll continue to keep an eye on that. Storm Prediction Center out here. Not a whole lot of severe weather out there in the forecast. Got a lot of cold weather and a lot of snow coming in out here across Texas. Look at this as we head into next week time period. It almost looks like they backed off a little bit there on the snowfall. This was covered with a lot of snow here a couple runs ago. Now it looks like most of the snow will be up into Oklahoma, Arkansas area. Severe weather threat probably right here. We'll have to watch that as we head towards the end of the week. But this cold air is going to venture back behind that. And, it's a mixed bag of different pressures out here. Really no dominant pattern aside from that cold air coming down, I guess, from Canada. It looks like it wants to take hold here of the majority of the country. Going to make January an awfully cold month. For the West Coast there, I don't see any major storm systems coming in. Little weak one as we head towards the 18th time period. But, man, it's a little depressing here. I'm hoping we get some storms out here for California. Big time fire weather potential in Southern California coming up. Tomorrow is going to be the peak of it. Tomorrow night into early Wednesday, we got a huge weather wind event taking place out here. I want to show you guys some of these expected wind readings here, wind gusts. So we'll put this here early morning. Here's the day tomorrow. Things start to peak up there, it looks like, in the afternoon. Outside of Los Angeles up here, we're talking about gusts up 60, 70 miles an hour. Some areas may see stronger winds in the area. And Tuesday night looks about the same. Pretty windy conditions there, above 70 miles an hour for some areas into the mountain ranges there above Los Angeles. Wednesday, looks like Wednesday is going to be a pretty windy one as well. So this is going to be a number of days here of severe wind potential. And, well, Southern California really hasn't seen a drop of rain out here. So we're talking about some huge, major fire hazard issues out here with the dry fuel and the high winds. That's going to make some hazardous conditions out here. So hopefully everyone adheres to the no fire, no burning. I wouldn't even fire up a barbecue in this type of wind and those type of dry conditions out there. Here's the Tuesday forecast. We have the extreme, the highest category you can get here on the fire hazard category, fire danger. And that's for Tuesday. Wednesday, a little bit less, but still, that's, I wouldn't be burning anything. It's been so dry down there. If you look at the moisture anomaly map here, we're talking about way dry. More so than what they've seen in probably quite a while. Northern California, we're still pretty wet up here. We've had a above normal precipitation maker, but there's a pretty clear cut line here about Stockton southward that has been that's how it's been all winter. Rain up north, dry conditions down south here. So just, be safe out there in Southern California. It's going to be a bad couple days there for fire hazard potential. Let's check out the fire map, see if we got anything out here. Southern California right now. What is this one? Forward progress stop. That's good. That was about 6 hours ago, but when you got 70-mile-per-hour winds out there, that may not happen quickly. So hopefully nothing fires up, but there is red flag warnings out there. Red flag warning, as you can see, ends Thursday, January 9th. So there's a couple days here of that fire hazard. Red flag warning down south as well. I mean, it's just crazy. Fire weather watch Not a good day for any type of fires out there. We'll check back on this, see if hopefully nothing fires up, but I have a feeling things are going to get pretty nasty down there if a fire does happen to break out. So we'll check back on that sometime tomorrow there. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Yeah, that 7-pointer, 7.1, that's the largest earthquake so far this year. On top of 3 6-pointers we've had, so that makes 4 large earthquakes here this year. We're only almost 7 days here into the new year. I think this year is going to be the year for the 8-pointer, maybe even a 9-pointer. Our last 9-pointer back in Japan, right? 2011. So, 9-pointers. I think the longer we go without seeing an 8-pointer, and we're sitting at 4 years now since we've seen an 8-pointer. That makes me think here that we may see maybe a 9-pointer out here. 9-pointer is obviously some of the biggest earthquakes there are. But a lot of time has passed since an 8-pointer, so something's building up out here, maybe for a 9-pointer. Let's hope not, but the statistics here are kind of pointing towards that. Have a good night, folks. Stay safe out there, and we'll be back out here for the Tuesday morning update.